the cost of living crisis is the biggest issue affecting Australia. Well, the latest AFR freshwater strategy poll says that 72% of Australians say they want the Labor government to make it their most important issue this year. And when they were asked what the crisis looked like for them, 27% said groceries, 22% rent, and 10% the cost of energy bills. Macro Business Chief Economist Leith Van Onselen joins me now. Leith, Australians still don't get the sense that the government is doing enough to help them on cost of living.
Yeah, absolutely, Sharri. Look, Australian households are hurting. All the data shows it. They've just experienced one of the largest falls in their disposable income in the world. For employee households, the cost of living continues to run well ahead of wage growth. And the cost of necessities, whether it's groceries, housing, electricity, gas, have all soared in recent years. And that's plunged many households into financial stress. So we basically want a politician to focus on these nuts and bolts core issues, not fringe stuff like The Voice, which quite frankly is a distraction.
Look, housing is also one of the main areas where a lot of people are struggling at the moment. You say, and you've argued for a long time, that the high immigration levels, that Labor actually raising immigration has directly driven the collapse in the rental vacancy rate. It's also contributed to hyperinflation in the rental market.
Yeah, so last week we received the fourth quarter national accounts from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and what it showed is Australia's population has increased by an incredible 680,000 people last calendar year. Now, that's the equivalent of about 1.5 Canberras. And at the same time, data released today by the Australian Bureau of Statistics showed that we added only 166,000 homes last calendar year to the housing stock. So what that means is that we only added one home for every 4.5 new residents. And because of that, the data released last week by Domain showed that the national rental vacancy rate collapsed to an all-time low of just 0.7%, whereas PropTrack, which is another housing data provider, showed that over the weekend that Australia's rents have increased by a whopping 38% since the start of the pandemic. Now, the situation, unfortunately, Sharri, is not going to change so long as the federal government continues to obviously ram in record numbers of migration into a constrained housing sector. And I think every Australian needs to ask the Albanese government, why is it importing record numbers of people without a plan to house them and also to provide them with infrastructure? Because right now, their immigration policies are creating or worsening the rental crisis.
And of course, a lot of the immigrants go to the major cities where there's already the most pressure on housing and services. I mean, you say it's the equivalent of another Canberra or 1.5 Canberras. Well, maybe all of the new immigrants should just go to Canberra and then see how the politicians deal with it. Because, part of the reason for this immigration was to stop Australia going into a recession. But really, the data shows that we have been in a per capita recession and people are really feeling the pain.
Yeah, that's right. Look, population growth obviously grows the overall economic pie. You've got more consumers buying and spending, but it doesn't grow everyone's slice of the pie. And what we've actually had last year was a big fall in per capita GDP, where basically the economy didn't grow nearly as fast as the population growth, and we all went backwards. And I think you're right. If all the migrants went to Canberra, well, then I'm sure the politicians would push back pretty hard because they'd be impacted directly.
Yeah. In terms of construction industry, we're seeing a report as well in the Australian today that the industry is calling on the government to strengthen skilled migration. So, we're basically out of time, but it also looks like while we do have high migration, we're not getting the skilled migrants in quite the right area where our industry needs it. So that, again, is a problem. Leith Van Onselen, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.